Yeah, our egg-eating dog, once they start sucking eggs, they don't ever stop. No, it probably won't go far enough, but I been in Austin long enough to know I got to fight, live to fight another day. I got to make some improvements in it, some audits, some reports. It allows the Attorney General to go after them civilly. If they wrongfully spend the money, make them pay it back with penalties. So I got to do the best I can, and then we'll monitor it and go forward. But it has been embarrassing and outrageous the way part of the nation looks at us, but I'm not worried about how the nation looks at us. I'm worried about how it impacts Texans.
I understand. Senator John Whitmire, do 5 more minutes with us. I want a few more questions about solutions on the other side and how we get this bill passed. Stay with us.
The New World Order beast is genetically modifying your food, mixing vegetables with animals, and now experimenting with viruses. Without a long-term food solution, you will have just 2 options: starve, or surrender. All canned food supplies will eventually run out. What then? Grow your own healthy food and feed your family forever. SurvivalistSeeds.com is now the nation's largest bulk heirloom seed company, and it's owned by a real patriot, Big John Lipscomb. You can now have an infinite amount of healthy vegetables like a watermelon, a bundle of carrots, or tomatoes for a little more than a penny each. SurvivalistSeeds.com. And now you can go into business with Big John at SurvivalistSeeds.com by becoming an affiliate. See his link at SurvivalistSeeds.com.
Senator John Whitmire from Houston, right here in Texas, has courageously been fighting what he calls highway robbery by the police. All the time you read about sheriffs, police chiefs in South Texas caught dealing drugs. I see that every few weeks in the news. Meanwhile, you've got them running around in East Texas, and Central Texas, and West Texas robbing people. Any other hot spots? And as you said, this is going on nationwide. CNN even admits that. But any other hot spots people should look out for?
Well, honestly, I think every community ought to ask their police chief, their sheriff, their district attorneys, all these people who have this tremendous power of acquiring funds, how do you go about it? I mean, first of all, someone should be charged with a crime, and a court should declare the funds forfeited. It should not be done just by some paperwork on the side of the road. So that would be the first inquiry. Then if the funds are acquired properly, everybody ought to ask, are they going back into fighting crime and not for golf tournaments and whiskey and political purposes? There ought to be, more troops on the ground. They ought to have better equipment. How do you take criminal funds, forfeited funds from the outlaws, and then use it against them? So I think every community, every citizen ought to ask their local jurisdiction, how do you use forfeited funds? I mean, they can be used for a wide variety of crime-fighting techniques, equipment, officers. I'll be honest with you, drug courts could be funded. That's where you try to help folks who've got drug habits get off this stuff. There's a lot of things other than entertainment and fancy cars for some public officials.
I was talking to during the break. You're saying it's a good idea to call Governor Perry's office?
Wouldn't hurt. I'm going to inquire. He'll put it in a special. I'm not optimistic because there's a bunch of other things people want in there, but certainly wouldn't hurt to ask the governor to get control of forfeited funds. In fact, they currently report those funds to his office. He could probably, through executive order, do a better job of declaring how they could better enforce the use.
Senator Whitmire, Barack Obama has talked about decriminalizing, not legalizing, but decriminalizing marijuana. A lot of studies in Europe and other places show, and Mexico's looking at this because their whole society's collapsing from the drug wars. What about, 80 years ago, you could buy heroin and cocaine at every corner store, and less people used it. What about not legalizing it, but decriminalizing it so that there's not giant profits associated? And then most experts believe that would really dissipate a lot of the violence.
Well, it's an interesting discussion. Probably don't have enough time today, but I've never really entertained that idea because I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. But I did read with interest what Mexico's proposing this morning. I'm not ready to decriminalize drugs, but certainly being smart about fighting them and dealing with people who have the habits sure contribute. But
what about going after banks that launder the money?
Everybody. That'd be a hell of a good group to go get some of their felony forfeiture funds.
Okay, well, we appreciate you joining us. Do you happen to have in front of you the bill number?
No, I don't have the bill number. I really honestly don't.
No, I know they're always changing it too.
Yeah. Well, we actually put it on another one because of the mess toward the end of the House. It ended up on about 3 different bills, and I don't know the numbers in front of me.
No, I know. For those that don't know, around the country,
it'll be a new number as we start over.
Sure, because Texas, for those that don't know, only has a session every 2 years, so it's a wild event with bills changing and things going wild. What about Texas being in session every year? Do you support that?
No, I go back and forth, and I've been there a long time. I will suggest it's getting more and more difficult to do a good job in 140 days every 2 years. Am I there to propose being there every year? Not on all topics, maybe the budget for sure. But I will suggest what we've got now is pretty broken. I mean, our state is our government and our system hasn't kept up with the growth of the state. On the other hand, you can draw a comparison with Washington, who meets full time, and they don't do much better. So,
well, I've always been against them.
Too much government is something that I would be concerned about.
Sure. No, I was about to say I've always been against meeting every year because it allows the bureaucracy to stir up trouble. But I'm seeing in Texas the opposite. All the bad stuff gets passed. All this chicanery, like what Kirk Watson does, sliding stuff in at the last. It almost seems worse, but I don't know.
It's hard. The problem is if we're not down there more regular, the bureaucrats, the department and agency heads run things pretty independently of any of us while we're gone. So
it's 6 one way, half a dozen the other.
I could argue either way.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Senator, thank you so much for joining us on the show today.
All right. Stay in touch. Bye.
You bet. Good luck with your bill. And that is Senator John Whitmire joining us from Houston, District 15. And I tried to slip in the drug decriminalization and notice the big conservative guys now having to at least say he'd think about it. Because everybody knows this drug war is a fraud. And we know who's making the money, the big banks. And that's why they want to keep it illegal, because that boosts the price. We'll be back with a lot of key news and information. Stay with us.